Hey guys, how's it going? And welcome to our product reveal show. So, on this nice Friday afternoon, we had a new product that was kind of queued up, getting ready to be launched, and we figured we'd show all you guys and give you a first look before it goes live on the website. So, after we reveal it, we'll have it go live on the website, and you'll be able to jump in and buy it right away. I'm sure some of you guys are noticing that we do have a giveaway. We've actually got two giveaways today. We're going to be giving away two of these mystery wheels as soon as they're released, and we're also going to be giving away a t-shirt. Contrary to popular belief, we're not actually giving away Kevin and Amy. Those, we can't let go of those guys. So we've got a nice Gobilda t-shirt in whatever color and size you want. I should definitely start that giveaway though, so you'll have to give me just 1 second. Let's see here. But yeah, I'm really excited to be able to show off some new parts. For now, we've got a less exciting new part that we're going to be talking about. It's less of a new part and more of an update. We always kind of strive to create better and better parts. So we are, let's see. We made a small update to, and we're continuing to make this update to all of our pin-in gears. This is a 6D 20-tooth pin-in gear that is being replaced with a steel version of the same thing. So that's really exciting. It means instead of having that brass that could potentially wear down and all of that stuff, you get a really nice steel, very solid solution. Okay, let's see here. All right, so I did just start that giveaway. So as long as you're following the channel, you should be able to jump in and type the keyword, which is wheel, W-H-E-E-L. And then we'll roll for that giveaway probably after we reveal our new part, and we'll figure out who wins. If you do win, just shoot us an email over to marketing@gobilda.com, and we'll be sure to send out that shirt to you. Let us know your size too. And if you have a preference on color. We have these dark matter shirts, which are a black with the inverted logo with white text, and then we've got these are classic shirts that are the standard gray with the standard logo on them. Yeah, let's see. You can say the keyword multiple times. It won't increase your chances of winning, but it's always fun to see. And while we're here, let's take a closer look at this gear. So it is nice. We've actually started engraving that tooth count in the profile on the back side of these gears. And these are cool. These 20-tooth gears are really cool because they have kind of a nice variety of use cases. They're great as pin-in gears. And they can either mesh with a 40-tooth gear or you can mesh them with a 100-tooth gear. The thing about using gears in Gobilda channel, let's see here. Here's a nice one. You've got a center distance between the two nearest holes is going to be 24 millimeters. To get a gear that works, two gears that work out on that spacing, you need a total of 60 teeth. So you can have two 30-tooth gears or a 20 and a 40. A lot of our gears rely on being 48 millimeters apart. In that case, you just need 120 total teeth. So if you have a 20-tooth pin-in, you need a 100-tooth spur, and you get that nice 5-to-1. So there are lots of advantages. I guess if you wanted to, you can also keep going. So if you say want to have a 72 millimeter spacing, you could take your 120 plus 60, and you'd end up with the total number of teeth that you would need in that setup. Let's see. Yeah, so I am really excited to have more of these steel gears. I don't know if we've really had anyone wear out our older brass gears, but they are really cool and black and overall are a little nicer, I think. So that's really exciting. Are those fire poles? Let's see. I guess I'm not sure what you're referring to, Ethan. Infinite Awesomeness Studios. If you mean these conduits, they're definitely not. That would be not very safe. But I guess you could try. Oh yeah. So let's see. I suppose we don't have a whole lot else to talk about today. So we probably can get along and reveal our new wheel. We will switch over to this hat view while we're looking at it. This is our nice all black Gobilda hat. It's just got the kind of simplified Gobilda logo. It's one of my favorites. I'm really happy that we ended up doing this. And, oh, I guess I knocked it over. These are our new wheels. We're calling them the Gobilda Gecko wheels. They are a compliant wheel with a 30A durometer, so they're nice and sticky and also very compliant. One of the big things that we made, or one of the big decisions we made when we were designing these was to try to get the compression as even as possible. So that's why you have that kind of funky spoke design with those squiggly lines, those knees in there. It means that no matter where you depress the wheel, it's a fairly even squish. It's not perfect, so it's not the greatest drive wheel of all time. If you're planning on having it squished the whole time, ride might be just a little bumpy, but it's designed to be kind of a really good intake wheel for a lot of different kinds of elements. This one is 72 millimeters in diameter, and it's got that nice soft silicon rubber outside, and it's got a hard plastic core. That plastic core is offset, so you've got an 8 millimeter drop on the shallow side and a 12 millimeter drop on the larger side. This is made so you can make a sonic hub completely flush on the narrow side and then have a hyper hub stick out past where you have access to the pinch bolts. Let's see. So, Mecha Muffin asks in the chat if we can do a squish test. We can. And there's actually a picture of a squish test on the website, which I think turned out really nice. But it's really hard to capture this kind of nice glossy view on the camera. You can see that all of our Gobilda logos down here are all kind of blown out. But they do squish pretty well. You get a nice amount of travel for as small as the wheel is and for it being a hub mount wheel. Shrip360 asked in the chat what hubs we recommend for it. I do like the Sonic and the Hyper hubs for it. There are also applications where you might necessarily not want any hub. So Sonic hubs are nice because they don't add any width to the wheel. The downside is you have to put the Sonic on the shaft before you bolt the wheel to the Sonic hub. So you have to put it on the shaft, tighten your your pinch bolts, and then actually mount the wheel to that hub, and then you get that nice flush 24 mil wide overall assembly. And still, yeah, overall, if you can fit a hyper hub, and if there's no disadvantage to a hyper hub in your use case, I would use a hyper hub, just because it's so much easier to remove it. You still have access to those pinch bolts, which does make it a lot simpler. Let's see here. These are a squishy wheel. The core is solid, so you can kind of see where there is, I think it's a 1 millimeter solid wall around the whole core on the inside, and then the silicon rubber on the outside is actually held to it. Let's see. Clairvoyant Llama says in the chat, asks us to include some gummy bears in the package so you can resist the urge to eat them. That's definitely some good feedback. I can't guarantee we can do that, but I like that idea. And I think that would be really fun to do. Bob in the chat asked if 72 mil is the only size. That is the only size we've got right now, but that's always something we are considering and adding to our lineup. If you have a specific size in mind you want to see, you can always tag us in the chat with that suggestion, or if you want to shoot us an email, tech@gobilda.com is always a good place to reach out. So I think we've looked at these wheels a lot close up. Let's take a look at a couple of builds that I actually have done up. So one of my favorite things that you guys will be able to see in these product insights is that these wheels work really well bolted to GoTube. This was kind of a surprise to me until after we got them in and we were playing with them. But you can bolt them to different lengths of GoTube and create this really cool roller which is really great for intakes where you're intaking a ball or something like that. Here I've just got a sprocket bolted to this end of this Go tube. And each one of these individual pieces, even though it looks like these are all on one piece of Go tube, there's actually 5 different pieces of Go tube that these are all bolted to. So you can probably maybe see inside of there, you can see there are a couple screws that are holding this compliant wheel to this piece of Go tube. And it makes this really nice, stackable, really nice roller intake that you can do a lot with. I had a build where I had a kind of a passively sprung intake that just relied on the motor rotating forward to pull it down, which worked really well. Let's see here. There was a question in the chat a little while back that I think I forgot to talk about. Somebody asked if they expand at high speeds. They definitely do. I don't think they expand a noticeable amount at 1620 RPM, which is the 3.7 to 1 ratio that we offer. That's still fairly slow for a shooter. I think it's a very reasonable speed, but I can definitely see people wanting to go faster. With that, they're not the greatest shooter wheel ever. They'll definitely work fine, especially if you're only shooting one element, but because your wheel has a lot of compliance, the speed that you're releasing that projectile at can vary, which makes for a not super consistent shot. It's really not the greatest. Let's see. Infinite Optimus Studio asks if we can eat it. I don't think you can eat silicone rubber. I bet that would not be very good for you. Let's see. WStartWW asked if they're going to be made in bright yellow. That's not something we planned on so far. We're pretty much sticking to black for these. We may look at other colors if we go to another durometer as another option, but likely these are always going to be black. Let's see. Chief with Beef says 100 mil would be nice for shooting games. Definitely. So because I've been closer to 100, maybe a 96, I think would be really, really cool. Man, let's see here. Infinite Awesomeness Studio asked if you can dye them. I'm really not sure. You could definitely try. They are black, which would make it a lot harder than something that would be a lighter color. It would be really cool to see some that you could dye pretty well. So that's something I will write down in the chat, or write down on my notes. Yeah, Dan's Main 805. They're not great for shooters, I don't think. They are 30A, so they're very, very, very grippy, which is a great factor. But that kind of shifting tangent velocity that you get out of a compliant wheel that can expand and then conform to an object after you shoot it is not optimal. But I think it still would work, especially if you're trying to shoot at slower speeds. Something like VV, I don't think you really needed to shoot very much faster than about 1600 RPM, so it may work just fine. Let's see here. I've also got, this is a kind of test Skystone intake I made up. It's very, very simple and not the greatest overall. So it's definitely not a fantastic intake, but it worked really well as a proof of concept to show off these wheels and how well they ran. Let's see here. You can kind of see, camera's a little close up to show this whole robot, but this also shows hyper hubs being mounted to them, where you have access to those pinch bolts, which is really nice. One thing about this robot that I did really like is that I mounted this intake on Go rail. So each motor is mounted with a clamping hub to this Go rail, and that allows you to loosen the bolts and slide these intake modules forward toward each other or away from each other. So you get a lot of flexibility. I know I mentored some teams last year who ran into the 8mm grid just not having enough flexibility for an intake. You can't get them in that quite perfect range where they're just tight enough together but loose enough that they still act nice. So Go rail is really nice for that. This Go rail is also in clamping mounts. So that means not only can you vary the intake width, you can also vary the toe, I guess, the angle of the intake. So you can have a lot of flexibility where you're not glued to say 45 or any specific angle. Let's see. Shirip360 asked how many pounds I think it would take to fully compress. Whew. I am really not sure. If you want, you can always tag me on Discord. I can actually test that with a scale and get you a real number. I really don't want to hazard a guess. I bet it's probably maybe 3 pounds. I'm always very bad at weight, so that's not my favorite thing. Infinite Awesome Studios asked, why not make the core go rail? I never really thought of that. That is a cool idea. If you wanted to clamp onto it, that could be kind of cool. But we like hub mount wheels, especially in Gobilda, because we support a lot of different shafts. With that hub pattern, you can also say bolt on a pattern adapter to get to another hub that some other supplier, Servo City or maybe Rev, sells to get to a different shaft that we may not even offer. You could definitely run these on half-inch hex if you took a pattern adapter to a 770 pattern and ran a Servo City clamping hub on there. So that hub pattern does give you a lot of flexibility and really running them wherever you need to. Let's see. DevBoy asks how you would screw the clamping mounts to the go rail. That is kind of a funky thing. That's definitely, I understand your confusion there. I'll move this out of the way. So the clamping mounts aren't directly screwed to the go rail. There's actually this 3-hole pattern plate, grid plate, 3-hole grid plate. It's a steel grid plate. I don't know the part number for that one off the top of my head. So the clamping hub is screwed to the 3-hole grid plate, and then the 3-hole grid plate has these screws kind of on the outside of that clamping mount, which go to go rail nuts that are inside of the slot of that go rail. So it does add an additional part, but that's how you get from that threaded hole in the clamping mount to a nut on the actual intake. And this is a nice way to see how these are just mounted directly to a motor. This is how I think a lot of teams will do it. The biggest downside to an intake like this is your total intake volume really isn't that big. It really is pretty much restricted to the center line of each of these wheels. If you hit the outside line, basically if you hit anywhere from here out, it'll end up kind of throwing that object away instead of pulling it in. It's kind of just a downside of wheels in general. So I think a lot of teams may end up putting additional wheels kind of further out so that you broaden that intake range a little bit more, and it allows you to be okay being a little less precise. Let's see. Mecha Muffin in the chat asked what the inspiration behind the name Gecko was. It's kind of a squishy and sticky animal. We really like animal-themed names here, especially with our wheels. We've got our Rhino wheels. So we figured it'd be great to stick along with that theme. Let's see. Could we see the wheels in action, please? Excited for those wheels. Oh, man. I don't have a really easy way to power those. If you want, you can always shoot me an email to tech@gobilda.com, and I can record a video quick and send it to you of these in action. Let's see. Bob asked if Gobilda is planning on making a compliant wheel with a larger plastic core. I don't think we are necessarily. Are you? It sounds like you might be after some kind of dedicated shooter wheel that's less compliant and just kind of grippy. And that's something we've definitely talked about. Not sure if it's maybe something that's on the way. You never know. With that, I think we've talked a lot about that. We better go ahead and roll for our giveaway. So our first giveaway is this shirt. If you end up winning, make sure to shoot us an email over to marketing@gobilda.com. And looks like we just closed that entry, closed entries there. Maybe. A video on the website would be a really great idea, thanks. Okay. Whew. Chrome is not liking me very much today, but That's all right. So we will get to that giveaway as soon as we can. Definitely make sure to throw a wheel in the chat if you've not already to get your last chances in. I guess that you guys have a few more opportunities here. We don't have an animal name for Mechanums yet. That is a good suggestion. I kind of would like one. Maybe crab wheels. That'd kind of be cool. Let me know if you have any suggestions. Mechanums are just Mechanums, I guess, but it's cool to have kind of fun names for things, for sure. All right, well, Chrome is really not working on my computer today, so I'm going to try to roll for this giveaway on my phone. Sorry about that, guys. All right. Man, we gotta figure out who won this shirt. All right. Definitely let me know if you guys have any more questions about these. I'll for sure see it if you tag at Gobilda TV in the chat. And we'll for sure try to get to those. If you have any questions that you think of afterward or that we didn't get to, definitely just shoot us an email. You can contact us over at tech@gobilda.com, or if you see I'm at Ethan D in the FTC Discord, and I'm also over on Reddit as Gobilda_Ethan. Let's see. All right. See if my phone or my computer loads this faster to get this giveaway finished. Ooh. Let's see. Okay. Do they fit the Trisha5555? I think that's her name. Asked in the chat. If they fit the 12 mil ID, 32 mil OD bearings nicely. That would be pretty tough to get to work very well on these, since they're in the 16 pattern, and that's a really big bearing. You probably could drop them in. I think I've got one right here, actually. I think they work pretty well. I believe that some of them does stick out of the wheel just a little bit. So you may have the flange on the outside of the wheel of, I think it's 2 millimeters on the flange version of those. But I think that would work pretty well if you're trying to do a dead axle wheel on a 12 millimeter shaft. That'd be a really solid way to go, I think. Maybe a little expensive compared to one of the smaller shaft options, but that's okay. All right, it looks like we have got a winner here. It is small ZE13. So it looks like if you got that giveaway and you want it, definitely shoot us an email to marketing@gobilda.com and we will get you your shirt out. With that, we'll start our giveaway for a set of 2 Gecko wheels. I'll complete this giveaway real fast here. And this will actually end up being the same keyword as you guys used before. It'll be the keyword wheel. And any capitalization will work. You'll get 1 entry. And then we will have the same procedure. If you win, shoot us an email to marketing@gobilda.com. Let them know what you've won. And we'll send you out a couple of these brand new, really sweet Gecko wheels. Lego Cam asks what's the best way to use 12 Rex. I would say a 12 Rex Hyper is going to be a really good bet if you're trying to power them. If you're trying to do like an unpowered setup for a dead wheel and an intake, then that 32 millimeter OD bearing, like we just talked about, I think would work pretty darn well. Let's see. Speaking of dead wheels and intakes, a lot of people, especially a couple years ago in relic recovery, would have an intake comprised of 3 wheels. There we go. And this first wheel and this back wheel would be powered, while the center wheel would be unpowered. This is a really nice way to orient objects that you're trying to intake, because something coming in at an angle can hit this dead wheel and rotate to be the correct orientation to go right into that intake. So that's a really cool thing, and I think that 32 millimeter bearings, OD bearings, would be a really good way to do that. You also could use like an 8 millimeter Rex ID bearing or a 6 ID bearing with some pattern spacers, some 1504s, to constrain the flanges of those bearings, and then some spacers, maybe the 1514 spacers or some 3D printed spacers to go between each wheel in like a roller intake like we showed earlier. Let's see here. I know there was a question, I can't having trouble finding it right now, but about the possibility of a larger wheel. It's definitely something we're thinking about, and depending on some feedback from you guys, once you get them in your hands, start playing with them and let us know what you think. It's maybe something we end up moving forward with a bigger wheel, or maybe even a smaller wheel, or a wheel in different barometers. Let us know what you guys want to see and what you think you'll use, because that really does help us get in a good direction that we know you guys will like. Let's see. Chief with Beef, sad 12 rec sonic noises. I know it would be a really cool thing to have, but it's tough to fit in that form factor, and it feels a little odd for sure. Let's see. Let me know if there are any questions you guys have that I've missed or not gotten to just yet. I think we're getting pretty close to wrapping up. I don't have a whole lot else to talk about. These are really cool wheels, and I'm super excited to see what you guys do with them. One note that I have from testing them is that as they get dirty, they get a lot less sticky. The dust that can stick to these wheels is not as sticky as the silicone. So as you're going through a competition, you may want to bring supplies to be able to clean your wheels between every match. Even like a microfiber cloth would do a really great job. And you can just turn on your intake pretty much and hold that cloth against the wheel, and it'll do a really nice job of cleaning it off and get all of that potential grip back. Gliz just asked, what about a smaller wheel? I think that'd be really cool too. This is about as small as I think we can really go and stay hub mount. Going smaller, we're pretty much locked into this course size to fit the 16 square pattern that we've got here, and keep this ID 32 mil. So unless we went with, say, a 12 Rex bore maybe, or an 8 Rex bore, I think that we would be pretty much, our minimum would end up being 72 millimeters. But if that's something you guys would want to see, I think that could be really cool. Let's see here. Yeah, I think kind of a 2-inch, maybe a 50 mil or 52 millimeter would end up being on pattern, and that would be really cool, because it would be a little bigger than channel compared to maybe a 48 millimeter wheel would. Dev Boy asked if I knew when new channel is coming out. I think that's actually coming pretty darn soon here. I think that my best guess is probably before kickoff. We're going to be releasing more and more new parts, especially as kickoff gets closer. Probably a little after that. We'll continue on as new stuff rolls in. But we've got a lot of really exciting things for you guys this year. I think there is a teaser in this stream for another one that will be coming out sooner rather than later, but we're definitely going to continue having these nice streams where you guys can jump in, ask questions, and especially with stuff like these compliant wheels, really seeing how they squish and how different elements interact with them live. I think it really does help. It's hard to play with something like an intake in CAD, where you really just, unless you've done a lot with intakes in the past, it's really hard to know how stuff is going to interact with wheels and intakes and everything like that. Infinite Awesomeness Studios, I don't know how they taste. My personal project is to make one out of chocolate, but I don't know if that's ever going to happen. I'll definitely post pictures over on the FTC Discord, discord.gg/first-tech-challenge, if I end up doing that. All right, I think we're getting pretty close to rolling for our winner for the 2 Gecko wheels. If you really want, you can have these too, but we'll probably send you new ones. So this is your last chance to get that keyword WHEL wheel in the chat for your chance to win. Make sure you're following the channel. If you're not, it will just skip on past you. So definitely hit that follow button and type wheel into the chat. Let's see here. Hand sanitizer would be kind of a cool, Gobilda hand sanitizer would be a fun product. I don't know if that's really in our wheelhouse, but it would be really cool. They are not chocolate already. It would be really cool if they were, but that would be a lot of fun to help make. It was always cake. Yes, that's right. All right. Well, I think we're going to close entries for the wheels, and we will pick our winner. All right, it looks like Westleaf in the chat is our winner for the Gobilda Gecko wheels. Definitely shoot us an email over to marketing@gobilda.com if you won these wheels. If you're Westleaf, I think that's Wes in the Discord, and let us know that you won. Give us your shipping info, all of that nice stuff, and we will get your wheels sent your way. With that, let me know if you have any more questions. Like I said, I'm on Discord. I'm tech@gobilda.com. You can reach out there, and I'm happy to help teach you everything I can about these wheels, about intakes, and really about whatever else you guys would like to hear, except new parts. I can't talk about those just yet. All right. It was really nice to talk to you guys, and I'll see you next time.